Class is in session. Today I'm going to talk about 5 major common mistakes that I see all the time in my students writing for their English Paper 2 writing exam. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more English tips from this handsome virtual teacher. Just joking. I have real feelings. I'm a real person. I'm a real teacher that teaches real students real English. Before we go on, I would like to offer you a free vocabulary list. To download it, just head inside our Discord server where I left the link in the description below. You can join our server and find it under the free giveaways. We also have a ton of other stuff to help our students on our Discord, such as reading toolkits, sentence patterns, online classes, and right now, I'm actually offering a last-minute 2 to 3 week crash course for your English DSE exam. This program touches on all 4 papers, but it is heavily focused on paper 2 because this is where students can improve the most. Getting students from level 2 to 4 or 4 to 5 double star is just a matter of practice. So in our course, we give you step-by-step instructions from reading the question, planning your answer, and we teach you the best paragraph compositions with foolproof sentence patterns, and most importantly, we give you ample amount of hands-on practice with my personal feedback. You can find more info on our Discord channel, or you can DM me on IG, and I'll see you there. Run-on sentences. Run-on sentences is a huge problem for students of lower levels as well as higher levels. For lower level students, they don't know how to organize their thoughts. And for higher levels, they have too many ideas, and they just want to write them all into one sentence. Then you end up with a lot of commas, which is not a good thing. Higher level students can sometimes get away with it because the overall vocabulary and content is good. Still, when you have so many substances in one sentence, your ideas are not going to be coherent, and this will cause your essay to be very difficult and even boring to read, which is ultimately why you will lose marks in your organization category. My rule of thumb is to try to only use up to 3 commas. That's around 20 to 30 words, which is roughly 3 to 4 lines on your writing paper exam. Complicated vocabulary. If I said run-on sentences were a huge problem, then complicated vocabulary is a huge problem, especially in people who are hardworking. Why? Well, because hardworking people are going to research a lot of vocabulary and they are diligent enough to recite them all. That doesn't sound really fair. Sometimes you just have to work smart before you work hard. You can recite every single word in the English dictionary, and if you don't know how to use them, it's going to be super obvious to the examiner that you're just reciting words. So that's why it's so important to learn the collocations of the word. So make sure you really understand how to use a word, and don't just write down what you memorized without thinking about the context and the situation. For example, if that complicated vocabulary that you memorize somewhat fits a definition you're looking for, but it's not commonly used in that context, you're not fooling anyone. It's going to be worse than if you just used a more simpler alternative. This is usually a big problem that most tutorial centers have with the students because they hand out and bombard students with thousands of vocabularies, right? Either you make sure you really understand the collocations of the words, or just stick with the simple words. At the end of the day, we're trying to reach a very consistent language throughout your essay. One of the mistakes is not having a writing plan before you start writing. You always have to have a writing plan and think clearly about the 3 to 4 points that you're going to write, and make sure you categorize them into different aspects very clearly and precisely. If you're not sure if these 2 points are overlapping or on the same point, you either combine them into one point or make sure you modify them until it's very clear that this is A aspect and this one is B aspect. The best practice would be to categorize them academic-wise. So something like social, cultural, just have these keywords that signify their vastly different points, so there will be no confusion whatsoever. Don't forget your topic sentence. Your topic sentence links everything together. And one thing I would really advise against is going with the flow. Don't just immediately start writing down some new points that pop up in your head as you're writing down. You're gonna lose major organizational points and content marks because of this. So what did we learn? Don't freestyle. Spend those 10-15 minutes, plan out your work, make sure it's organized before you start writing. I tried to freestyle this recording. I ended up having to go back and write a script. People like to just describe a phenomenon without taking the extra steps to relate it back to the point. For example, I gave this essay to one of my students to write, and this is what I observed. The topic was, why is the circus still a popular form of entertainment in today's world? She described a lot about the circus, like there are some animals doing some tricks there, funny looking people jumping around, freak shows, but she's missing the main point. She doesn't say why it is actually popular. For example, what she could have said was, maybe children nowadays, they don't see a lot of wild animals in their lives. So seeing these animals do some tricks could be a very, very new experience for them. And therefore, they would find it entertaining. People don't like to answer the question. Why? Is it because they missed it when they're reading it? Or they couldn't identify the real question? Which is really sad because it would only take a few more sentences to wrap up the whole point. So don't just describe the phenomenon or that social issue, right? We need to link it back to why it's popular. Relate it to either your suggestion or your complaint, and you need to elaborate on it. This is a common mistake that I see all the time in people's writing. Don't make this mistake. Not giving enough examples. You can have the best argument in a debate or an argumentative essay, maybe because you're really good at thinking of valid points, but if you can't support your arguments with examples, it's still gonna be crap. You're not gonna get full marks. I'll even let you on a little secret. Some people don't know that you can actually make up evidence to support your argument. Did you just hear me? You can literally make up data, such as making up research studies or survey reports from real organizations like the Consumer Council from the Hong Kong Federation of Youth Groups. Now, you don't have to make it super specific and throw numbers everywhere. You don't have to say in 2022, 37.5% of the teenagers experienced extreme boredom because of COVID-19 lockdowns. But what you can say is, Hong Kong YMG has recently conducted a survey showing that teenagers have a fairly late sleep schedule, and studies have shown that it is bad for their health. So please remember to make up some examples and details to support your arguments. In my DSE Crash Course, I give my students a variety of examples and formats that you can memorize. It is super useful and super simple. I break down the full paragraph and teach you how to write each point, transitions, and how to use the examples and link them back to your point.